Welcome to the Health and Happiness Show. As many of you know, I, Janet Hawkins, will be your host today. Now, it was so nice. I just returned from the Mount Hope Home and Garden Show, and it was so nice to talk to people that had watched this show, especially in the Massillon area, which is on Channel 21. So it was nice visiting with a lot of the people that have viewed the show and follow it on a monthly basis as well. So, as many of you know, I am a doctor of naturopath, and our goal is to try to get to the root cause of what is causing your issues. Like, I have a lady coming in today. She's having a lot of depressions issues. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is she on vitamin D? Is she getting outside? Is she not watching a lot of TV and things of that sort with the negative? So we try to get to the root cause, because a lot of times with depression, we've had dark months, especially January, February. Now we're going into spring, so things are a little bit nicer and we're having a lot more sun as well. So we try to get to the root cause and try to go in and change a lot of her activities that she's doing at home. And of course, there's a vitamin D3 level. We will check that. And then we have different combinations, like we have Mood Elevator, St. John's wort, things of that sort. But we would, of course, muscle test, because I can't say this is okay for you and it's not for you. So everything has an energy rate. So what we do is we go in and we put a program together for you. We are all unique creatures of God. And then also, whenever you come in for an assessment, I do the iridology, of course, and then also we muscle test. And then I have a lady coming in next week from Georgia. She usually comes once or twice a year for the saliva and urine testing. That goes in and tells us exactly, doing a whole scan of your body and telling you how your circulation is, mitochondria, hydration, pH, things of that sort. And that consists of approximately a 15-page printout. Also, it's to your advantage if you know your blood type. At the end of the printout, we will tell you what foods are beneficial and what you need to avoid. So, in today's world, we have to be, I call it the CEO of your body, and be on top of things. And we really have to include nutrition as well. That is so, so important. So what we have to understand, our mission is to communicate our respect for people by presenting a solid foundation of natural health and business principles to enhance your quality of life. And of course, when we put you on a program, I 99% of the time like to give you a printout on the supplement that you are taking. So when you go to your primary care, you can say, Doc, this is what I'm taking and this is why. But the first thing you always have to remember, do not take your supplements like your vitamins, maybe vitamin D3, maybe vitamin C, things of that sort. You do not take those with your medications. Always take it an hour apart, because many people are on blood pressure meds and there's a diuretic built into that. So why would you take your supplements with that? Always an hour apart. So, that's the first thing you always have to remember. And then we also do a newsletter every month as well. And the main part of the newsletter is written by Stephen Horn, a master herbalist out of Utah. And then, of course, I always fill things in, usually relating to the season. And we do that on a monthly basis. And usually the people that get it every month are people that are members of Nature Sunshine, because it's like belonging to Sam's Club. You can belong to Nature Sunshine and you can get 25% off and two free shipping a month as well. And then this way keeps the people that are members up to what is going on and what's new in the health world today. And also for the month of April, I will be at a couple events. And the first one is on April 2nd, I will be in Barberton at Al's at the venue, and they are having a holistic psychic show as well. And that is on a Sunday, and I believe it's from 11 to 6. And then on April 21st and 22nd, I will be in Worcester, and I will be at the Shishler Conference Center, and that's on Friday from April 21st from 4 to 9. and then Saturday 10 to 4 on April 22nd. And what they're going to have is I'll be doing a class as well on keeping your body in balance and on detoxing. And they're going to have Reiki. They're going to have therapy dogs there. They're going to have a sound bath. And they're going to have lots of holistic vendors as well. And I will be providing the free iridology and muscle testing for everybody that would like to have that as well at no charge. So, very, very busy the month of April. Then the last Sunday in April, I will be at the Holiday Inn at the Belknap Village area for the Holistic Psychic Fair as well in Canton, and that's from 11 to 5 as well. And there will be vendors there. I know Pat will be there, and she does a lot of work with crystals, and Mary will be there as well. And they sell a lot of sage and things of that sort. And then I know Bonnie and Bert will be there, and they sell the crystals and different stones of that sort. So I'm just saying, those are some areas I'm going to be at. Since I do not have a storefront, that's why I like to do the shows, the private shows. So here we are into springtime. And I personally have had a lot of allergies since I have come back from Central America. And I feel with the weather being warm one day, it could be in the 50s, and then it drops down to 20. I don't think that helps. But right now, doing the recording here in March, my daffodils are up like this. My daffodils are starting, they've got buds, they're ready to pop open. And here it is, the first part of March. So, the trees are getting ready to, bloom the whole bit. So things are changing, the pollen. So if we have a lot of allergies, what I usually do, and this is, I'll be honest with you, I've been living on this, is the ALJ. It's called seasonal allergies. You only take it when you need it, which is really cool. So it has horseradish in it. Of course, I can't breathe through my nose. It'll open it up in like 20 minutes. And then it also has fenugreek and thyme, which works on the respiratory system as well. And I take 4. Now, when I was much younger, probably 20 years ago, I would take 4. That'd be fine for like 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. Now, what I'm having to do is take it at least twice a day. But then I feel as though, the allergies are a little more intense this year as well. So that's what I do. And then I add the Histoblock with it as well. And that helps with a lot of internal inflammation, and it's a special combination as well. So, and in the Histoblock, we also have the stinging nettle, and then we also have bromine in it as well. And let's see what else we have in that. And this, I take like 3 of these at least twice a day as well. And I find that the 2 of those work very, very nicely. And so the thing is, you only take them when you need it, which makes it really, really very, very, very nice. So we have that. And so also don't forget, if you're out walking, because now the weather is getting nice and it's getting a little warmer, don't forget to check for your ticks as well. Check on your animals, check yourself as well, okay? And then also, due to the East Palestine situation with the derailment of the railroads, people have asked me, Janet, what do we do? Well, here's what I am doing, and I know I am on Facebook with Dr. Tenpenny, and I know she highly endorses this as well. This is called the Pure Body Extra, and it helps with toxins. And so what you do is you take 4 sprays 3 times a day. And it is zeolite, and there's no heavy metals in it, nothing of that sort. And that's going to go in because whenever I do my saliva and urine testing, before I started on this, I was in the red zone for heavy metals, which I know I have the lead issue. With being on this, I'm now in the yellow. And that is just like above, green is normal, and yellow is right above it. So this does work very well because I can track it. So I do usually the saliva and urine testing at least probably once every 6 to 8 weeks for myself to keep myself in tune. So this is, if you're interested, you can always contact me, and I can provide the information for you, or I carry it in the office as well. So I would do that, and of course I would do your springtime cleanse, and it's time to clean up. Our toxins today are creating our disease, that and standard American diet. So I prefer the Tahi cleanse. It's more systemic. What I found, I would like to share this with you. When I was down at Mount Hope at the Home and Garden Show, of course I was doing the iridology. It was very interesting. There are 3 things I see when I do a show. One is we're too acidic, number 2 is stress, and 3 is toxins. Well, guess what with the Amish? Very little stress. They might have 1 stress ring, if that. That is their way of life, their culture. They're out in the outdoors. They're not in the inner city and rush. They are enjoying life and taking one day at a time. One thing I did find was they were too acidic, and that comes from their diet. Probably eating a lot of pastries and carbs and things of that sort, and maybe some coffee as well. And we're going to talk about that. So I would add the chlorophyll. We sold out of the chlorophyll. I think we had 1 bottle left. And what you do is you just add that to your water and drink it throughout the day. So we'll just show you how that does. And then if I come home from doing a show, because I always give samples of it, what we do is here, you want some, Cindy, as well?
Sure.
We got to have the green here to go with all the greens you're going to plant. Okay, so all you do is put this in your water and you drink it throughout the day. And usually I just wing it and pour some in, but the bottle says a teaspoon into a big container of water. So what I do whenever I come home after doing a show, if I have any left, I put it on my plants. Of course, I bring my hibiscus in for the winter. I add the green water to it. It blooms in 2 days. So that tells you how much it likes it. If it's doing that for your body or for the plant, can you imagine what it's doing for your body? So it's going to go in and balance your pH because most of us are too acidic. Number 2, it's going to go in and help your hemoglobin, the red blood cells. And then number 3, it's going to help detox you. And then what we do whenever we are doing a show, I always have a handout on it as well, so you can understand what it's doing. And here it is. It tells you all of the benefits of the chlorophyll and why it's so important. I've had one lady who works in a nursing home, and she said, "Oh my goodness, Janet, it brought my energy up so well." And also, if we are having maybe a problem with a cyst internally, you can go in and we would probably do the Tahi cleanse, and we need to go in and change the internal environment because I feel like a cyst issue is developing from the toxins that is accumulated in your body as well. So we're trying to get to the root cause. So just remember, spring is in the air. We're starting to hear the birds sang out for a walk. Hopefully everyone is keeping their body in balance. Remember, it's exercise, nutrition, live foods, and then the 2 S's, stress and sleep, and then also attitude is so important. So the fact that it is springtime, we have our lovely guest here, Cindy Petitti from Petitti's Organic Greenhouse.
Thank you.
So thank you for taking the time to come and share all of your little tidbits on why this is so important for us to plant our own food. Spring is now the time to organize and plan.
It is.
So here we go.
Well, thank you so much for having me again, Janet.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure to be here. And so I want to explain, it is one of those things where so many people have the misconception of we're going to be starting our plants, so we're just going to start everything all at one time, and that's really not the way to do it. You know, here we are in April. The first part of April, you want to get all of your tomatoes started, but really your peppers should have already been started. You want to start your hottest peppers like your Ghost, your Carolina Reapers, your Trinidad Scorpions. Those we started all the way back in January. And then you want to make sure that you're planting your other peppers according to their heat throughout February, and some of your mild ones the first 2 weeks of March. But the rest of the time, you want to make sure that you are getting all of those planted at the correct time. Your cabbages, those things were back in, the first part of March as well.
Right.
But it's still too early here, the first part of April, to plant your cucumbers and your squashes. You want to do those toward the end of April. And so it's really critical to have the best success is planting the seeds at the correct time. We do always offer a class in the early spring, actually late winter, on when to start so that you catch the class before you're in mid-season.
Right.
But if you haven't started your seeds, if like right now here in April you get your tomatoes started, your peppers started, do them indoors, keep them indoors where you can control the heat and you can control the light until it's safe to put them outside the end of May, and you'll do really good. I brought a few things along with me today so that you can see. This is called a plug tray here. I'm going to hold this up so that you can see this. And the plug tray, this is the size of a flat that most people are familiar with, but there's 288 holes in here. And we start in these because this small little cell helps things germinate more quickly. We break them into little pieces. And this is good for the homeowner because you're not starting 288 tomato plants or 288 pepper plants. And you don't want to start all of your seeds, like we had said, at the same time in one tray because they're going to need to come off of the heat and into the light at different times. So starting in little small ones is going to be so much better. You can start, a dozen tomato plants in here or pepper plants or whatever. And then remember that your seeds do not need light. So many people have the misconception also. They're going to, put their soil in here, their seed starter, put the seeds in, top dress it with a little bit of soil or some vermiculite, and then they want to put it under a heat light. That seed is under the soil. It never sees the light until it pops through. So in that pre-germination phase, when the seed is under the soil, waiting to get ready to pop through, it only needs heat, no light. And you're going to have your best heat, not a heat lamp on top, on the bottom. So having everything sit on an old heating pad or a heat mat of some type, keeping the soil warm is going to aid in germination. So that's going to be where you want to have your heat. And then as soon as it germinates, it needs to be off the heat and into good light. And you need to, at that time, cool the temperature down a little bit. In most cases, down into the low 70s is going to be great. And then even a fan blowing slightly on them will help your stems get firm and be strong so that you don't have that damping off that several people have. They pop through, they have good luck with that, and then within 2 weeks the plant has fallen over and the stem is damped off. And you really need to watch your moisture level so that you don't keep them too moist, but you don't want them to get too dry. And in a little cell, they can dry out very quickly. So that moisture content is very important at the right time. But warmth is what you need. So here's a sample of some of the seeds that we sell. This is organic tomatoes. You definitely would start inside something like this. You can do carrots as well. And then I brought also beets. These are 3 different companies that we sell their organic seeds. But your beets can be started in a direct sow right outside early, or you can start them indoors and then transplant them outside and have beets very early. Carrots the same way. And you can even grow carrots and beets indoors late into the winter. So in the fall, I think we'll do a little talk on that as well. But these ones are called cold crops, and they can handle a frost. And so you can get them outside really early, like you can your lettuce, your kale, Swiss chard, all of those guys. You can get them started and indoors in a plug tray, and then transplant them outside as early as the first part of April, and be harvesting lettuce in April. And that's always a really great thing to do that.
What I'm planning on doing, since we're doing the recording in March, I am planting my celery. Or I'm sorry, my lettuce. Lettuce. I'm going to plant that, and I will have that for salads probably by the end of April.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm going to do it outside in a big pot on my deck. And you don't have to have a lot of land. You can always plant in your pots.
Exactly.
You know, maybe you live in a condo, maybe you have an apartment, maybe, you know, you don't have a lot of space. So pots are fine.
Oh, yeah. Container growing is very, very accommodating to all of us, and actually even can extend our season, because really so many times in April the earth is too wet to get out and actually work it, so that you can put something in the ground. But the container, where it drains well, you can go ahead and get started so much more earlier. So, but once you do take your plants out of here, you can always, like your tomato plant for instance, you can transfer it into a peat
Okay, that's
pot,
a good idea.
let it grow a little bit larger, and then this pot is decomposable,
Right.
and then you can put it right down in the earth when you're ready to plant, and this is just going to decompose right in the earth. It saves that step and some of that plastic ending up in landfills if you're using plastic. These containers can be used over and over again. What we do, when we harvest a grouping of seedlings out of here, we just spritz it down with some peroxide. And it's ready to go for the following season.
Okay, so I have a question. So what do? Do we put in the soil in there and a seed?
Yeah, you put the soil in first,
Okay.
and then I wet this down first.
Okay.
Or you can even wet your soil first
Okay.
in like a little wheelbarrow or a tote. You can wet it down and then put it in, because you never want to put your seed in and then water it, because that peat moss that is your base for your potting mix will float. The water will float on top until it absorbs, and you'll wash your seed
That's right.
out.
Exactly.
So
I know what you're
it's
talking
best
about.
to get the soil first, moist first, and then put your seed in. And then you can just top dress it with a little bit of the dry or vermiculite, and you're ready to go. Set it right on your heat, and you're ready to go.
Okay, good. Very interesting.
And you were talking about our pH in our body, which is so important.
Yes, absolutely.
But your pH in your soil is also very critical. So we do have these little test kits, and it's a soil test kit. It doesn't just do your pH, but it will do your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potash.
Nice.
And you can just take some of your soil, you put it in these little containers with one of the little capsules with some distilled water that is neutral, and then you shake it up, and as it changes color, then it will tell you what your soil is. And just like our bodies, the soil's acidity is going to be best if it's at certain reading,
levels. Correct.
depending on what we're growing.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're doing tomatoes, they can handle a slightly acidic soil, but some of your other things like celery like some more neutral pH. So knowing those things and also knowing your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potash, that way you're going to know what nutrients needs to be added. So like I brought the Hybrix with me. I'll hold this up here so everyone can see it. Hybrix is a all organic fertilizer line, and it's very well balanced. But if your soil is very depleted in nitrogen, you're going to want to add a little extra. Or if it's really low in nitrogen, you might want to add a little bit of blood meal or something like that to raise that nitrogen up where you need it to be. If you're really low in phosphorus, phosphorus is what gives you a vigorous root system. And if you are really low on phosphorus, low root development means low top development.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that you have the right amount of phosphorus in there too. And you can always add in, things like bone meal is very high in phosphorus. So that's going to aid in the, stimulating that root system. But when you're starting your plants, when you're starting your seeds, you need no fertilizer. So just
no fertilizer.
You don't
none.
need any fertilizer when you're starting your seed right in here. No fertilizer. Once it has matured and you have a root system developed where you're moving it into
the big pot.
this pot, then you can add a little bit of nutrient. Or when you're transplanting this pot and putting this into the earth, and you want new root stimulation going into the earth where the soil is a little heavier, the root system is going to have to struggle a little bit. It's not like a peat moss based soil. Then you can add in what we like to use is the biotone. It's biospoma, very high in phosphorus, so it's a great starter fertilizer, and it really will stimulate that root system to get started. We recommend this when you're transplanting from your containers into the ground, or when you buy a new tree or shrub and you're putting it in the ground. We always recommend this is going to help fight off bad bacteria that wants to attack something that is foreign in its area, but it also is full of microbials that is going to aid in protecting that root system so it can take off and get a nice strong root system for the plant as well. So this is going to be great as your starter fertilizer as well.
All right, so I have a question. So say you have like a dozen tomato plants and you're going to plant them. So you dig a little hole to plant the tomato plant. So how much of that do you add?
About 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons.
Yeah, so a very small amount.
Okay.
I just sprinkle it right around as I'm putting this down into the soil. I would sprinkle the biotone. I just get a spoon and then just sprinkle a little in the very bottom, and then as I put it in like right along the sides, that's going to help that root system just break right through and into the ground.
Okay, so now what do you do when you're going to plant your green beans? So would you add that as well? Put a little bit on the soil as you have your row?
Right, because your green beans you're going to direct sow. So you make your row in your garden, and then you sprinkle the biotone in and then drop your seeds in.
So that's much better than a fertilizer.
Oh, yes. Well, it's an all-natural fertilizer, but it also has some additional organic phosphorus in it that is really going to help that root system take off. And we have found when we're transplanting, because we did start tomato seeds way back in early March.
Oh, really?
Because we want to have big tomatoes. For all of those people that need instant gratification, we love to have some big tomato plants for Mother's Day with not just flowers, but some tomatoes on them already. Or especially by Memorial Day weekend, when most of us are just planting our gardens, there are people that want to have, a big tomato plant. So what we do when we transfer our plants that we have in this size, and we put it in a very large container that has the tomato cage already with it, and it's all ready to go. We do planters like that with maybe some lettuce at the bottom. They make a great Mother's Day gift or Father's Day gift, but they already have everything ready to go. We always use the biotone even in those containers.
Okay, good.
Or even when you might be transplanting a flower that you bought in a small pot or in a flat, and you're transplanting those into your decorative patio planters. If you add in a little bit of the biotone, or really any organic fertilizer that has all that good microbial action going on in it, that will always aid. But the biotone has the additional phosphorus that really shoots that phosphorus to your root system.
We're going to have to try that in our garden.
We have it in like little sample bags like this, and then we have it in a 4-pound bag, an 8-pound bag, all the way up to 36-pound bags for like if you're planting several fruit trees.
Right.
sprinkling that down in. That's really going to give your fruit trees a really good kick, and it's very important.
If we have a gardener in the family, that would make a great gift for
Oh, my
Mother's
goodness,
Day,
what
Father's
a
Day.
wonderful
Right,
gift.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Those are the kind of gifts I love when
Right.
someone, gives me, a new organic fertilizer or
exactly.
something. I'm
Yeah.
like all excited
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Or a new weeding tool.
Right.
One of those kind of things. Those are, incredible gifts for the gardener
And
in
you're
your
going
life.
to talk about a tool.
Yes.
You'll probably love this.
Yes, these are great trowels.
Aren't those? Yes, because when I was at Mount Hope, they gave that out as a gift for all the vendors. And it's by Cutco, I believe, and it's very, very, very good.
These are really, really, really nice trowels. And
nice.
a good trowel is very important. So even if you're doing, no-till gardening, you
Right.
have to make a hole in the ground
Right.
to get your seed down in.
Yes.
So a good trowel that is strong, comfortable to your hand also is very important to
Absolutely.
have that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Good.
And so we're going to talk about some things that you can do really early, and microgreens is another
yes,
one of those
yes.
things that you can do really early. And actually, you could even do it earlier than we're doing it. Here we are, the show is airing in April, but I started doing microgreens as early as, well, I pretty much continue to have them. But January, I started my first microgreens.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So with your microgreens, all you need is a flat. You don't need anything fancy. This is one that has like a tray that has holes in it. This is good for people that overwater, and then a tray that is solid. So here we have it, and you can start these. Little trays come in many sizes. We sell them in half this size as well. But what you'll do, you're just going to
Here we have this.
put this on your soil. We have a bag of seed starting soil, and we're going to just put that in the container here. Do you want me to fill the whole thing?
Yeah, we might as well.
Okay. And then when you do this, you're going to see that you have clumps of soil.
Right.
And so it's going to be best if you break these clumps up so that you can smooth it out, and then your seeds will adhere to this soil mix. And you're going to
Nice.
notice that in a seed starting soil mix like Janet has here, the pieces of perlite are very small.
Okay.
The perlite is the white stuff that's here in the
Yes.
soil, and in a starting potting mix, it's going to be very small. It's not going to be very large at all, so that the seed has a better chance to adhere to the mix that's going to be where it germinates. So you have this all in here like this, and in these kind of trays it's nice because the water will go through, but the plant will never sit in that water.
Which is
where
nice.
Yeah,
Right,
and in
yes.
your home you have to worry about that. Now at the greenhouse, I just set this right on our tables because we don't mind that the water runs through.
So I have a
onto
little
the floor.
stand, like
Right.
a TV stand, and I'm going to put right by the deck where it gets a lot of sunlight.
It gets the good sunlight.
Right.
So you're going to do this, and then now since we are not wetting our soil because of purposes of TV,
Right.
when you get home, when you water this in, you're going to just mist it at
Okay,
first.
I'll do a spray.
A spray.
Yes.
And do that, and you'll do it several times so that the soil gets soaked good.
Okay.
But that way you're not going to have to worry about rinsing out any of your seeds here.
Okay, good.
Or puddling. So if you would, this might not, fall out because we have sides here, but if you just poured your water on,
yeah.
you would have puddling.
Right.
So you would have puddles of seed here and then none here.
I
So what
like
you're
the
gonna
fact to
do-
spray it, yeah,
So
yeah.
spray it, soak it down really good. It'll take you a few minutes to do that.
Right.
But then you just take this packet. Now if you do a small tray, you won't need your whole packet of seeds. But you're just going to sprinkle. When you're doing microgreens, you do it pretty heavy. You really sow them quite closely, and you just sprinkle them all over. Now, when the soil is dry like this, we're going to show you how you can do a little trick and not have to have any more cover. So
Okay, good. So we have some. Okay.
you have more for another start.
Okay.
But so what we're going to do, we're just going to fluff this like this.
Okay.
And we're going to be putting the soil that's already in here
Okay, I see what you're doing.
right over top.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go back and forth like this. And then you have soil right over top. And since you're misting, again, to water it in,
Right.
you're not going to have to worry about
The puddles.
this
Yep.
puddles or
Yep,
anything
yep,
like
yep.
that, or any washing out. And then you will notice it'll be amazing. If you have good heat that you set this on,
Okay.
or if the sunlight coming through like a patio door
Yes,
is
yes,
intense,
yes.
that will definitely keep this soil warm.
Okay.
And then at night, for the first few days until you have germination, which this will not take long to germinate if you're keeping this soil warm. Literally 4 days max, you will have germination here.
Okay.
If you're keeping your soil warm. So if we have sunny days and you keep this in front of the door,
Right.
You could at night then set the whole thing over a register,
Okay.
you know,
Now I
or
do
close
have.
to you heat with a pellet stove,
Right.
so you could keep it close to your pellet stove,
Yeah.
and then it would stay nice
Okay,
and warm.
good.
You don't want to go over 90 degrees though,
Okay. Yeah.
because if it's over 90 degrees, that will hinder your germination.
Right.
But anywhere between 70 and 80 degrees
Yes.
at night, so 24/7 for those first 4
Okay,
days
good.
is really going to help keep that soil warm and to increase your germination rate and the speed of your germination. Then you can take it off, leave it in front of your
And the
window,
patio door. Yeah,
patio
yeah,
door
yeah,
all the
yeah.
time. Now, you will need to keep in mind that all of these little guys, when they get, about this tall, they're going to lean toward that light
Okay.
because they like the light just like we do.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
yes.
turn your tray
Keep rotating
around
it.
and
Correct.
rotate it
Yes. Yes.
so that they always stand up straight. And any day that it's warm outside,
Take it outside. Absolutely.
take it
Yes,
outside
yeah.
and let that breeze blow across it,
Yeah.
because that is really going to aid in that sturdy stem. You will be able to start cutting within about 10 days
Okay.
to 2 weeks, and then you can take one cutting and you'll see that there's still new little ones popping up.
Okay.
So cut, a little bit above those ones, that first cutting, and then you can let those ones come on up, do a second cutting
Okay.
before you need to rough up your soil and start again.
Okay. So now they're probably wondering, what are the microgreens? Now, what you can do is add those to the salad.
Oh, you can add microgreens to about anything.
Okay.
I'm sort of crazy about microgreens.
Okay.
Because they add so much flavor, especially if you're doing, just plain broccoli. You can just use broccoli seed and just have broccoli microgreens. It's tasteful, but not crazy tasteful.
Right,
So
right.
I like to use a blend where you have radishes and arugula and broccoli and
Is that what this one
sunflower.
is?
Yes.
Okay,
So
good.
that has all of those in there.
Okay.
So that's really going to give it a nice kick. The amazing thing about microgreens is the nutrient level in these new freshly sprouted greens is twice as high as in the piece of broccoli or the radish itself,
Okay, the lettuce itself.
the lettuce itself.
Yes.
The microgreen has so much more nutrient level.
Right.
So when it's not just adding some flavor to your salad.
It's
which
more
it
nutrients
really
and
does.
feeding the body, which we
exactly,
need.
more
Exactly.
nutrients. But it's so great because you can add them to your salad and it makes a plain salad really have a kick. But also, I put it on eggs. If you make
really?
omelets, throwing those on your omelet is delightful. Every sandwich I make has
goes in there,
microgreens
microgreens.
on them.
Okay.
I also put them in soup. It makes a beautiful garnish, but it gives a nice kick to your soup.
So whenever you're saying the soup, you can add it in just like you do with your cabbage and everything else, or maybe at the end?
I do it at the end.
At the end,
because I don't
right.
want to cook them.
Right.
Because I want
You'll lose
all
all the nutrients.
of that
Absolutely.
nutrient.
Yeah.
So I put it right on at the end. That's why it looks like a great garnish, like you're eating a bowl of soup from a gourmet restaurant.
Well, and what you have to remember too, when you cook something 118 degrees, you're killing the enzyme. So this is why we want to do it raw and not cook.
Right, exactly. Like all of your vegetables, as many
Yes.
vegetables as you can, just steam. Just get it warm enough that it, palatable for you instead of eating it raw. But not, the only vegetable, which is technically a fruit, is tomatoes, that their nutrient level goes up with cooking. The lycopene level of a tomato elevates with cooking. Nothing else elevates their nutrient level, elevates with cooking. So that's why, if you grow a garden and you freeze your vegetables instead of can them. I do canning classes because
I love my canning.
It's great.
Yes,
love canning.
Yeah.
But when you're cooking things so long at such high temperatures so that your jar seals,
yes,
you are losing some of those nutrient levels.
Right.
So you have to consider the vegetable and the nutrient level in itself, if it's worth canning or should you freeze it.
Right.
That kind of thing. I always freeze your broccoli, never can broccoli.
No.
Because broccoli is extremely nutritious, but if you can it, they're gone. That's why you hardly ever see canned broccoli. But green beans is one, pretty nutritious, but when you can it, not as nutritious, but a lot of people like the taste of a canned green bean over a frozen green bean.
Yeah, because I tend to freeze my zucchini, like if I'm making zucchini bread, and if I have some left over, I just put it in a Ziploc bag and off we go.
Oh, right.
And it goes into the freezer.
Now, the other option would be freeze drying, if you have a freeze dryer.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
A freeze dryer is they are incredible, very pricey, but you can, instead of dehydrating, you use the freeze dryer. And actually, I'm surprised there wasn't anyone at the Amish Home and Garden Show because they're very, very popular in the Amish community.
I didn't see
but
those.
it is amazing using the freeze dryer for you can buy freeze-dried fruit at the grocery store.
Okay.
And they're usually in a little sealed packet.
Okay.
Well, this way you can do your own. It really intensifies the taste of your fruit and your vegetables. I don't have one, but I have a friend that has one, and she does fruits and vegetables for me all the time. Actually, she does our winter farmers market now. It's over now. Right. From November until the first Saturday of April, we do a winter farmers market in the greenhouse, which is very cool.
Nice.
On the first and third Saturday, and she sells her.
I'll have to come over and try that.
Yeah, it is, but it's amazing. And you can do fun things with it too. Like you can throw a piece of candy in it, and it poofs them up.
Really?
And so kids like it for that reason. But I have found that it is crazy nutritious. You don't lose those nutritional values.
So how do you like it compared to a dehydrator? You like it much better than a dehydrator?
I like it better, but I dehydrate because of the cost of the freeze dryer.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, I have a dehydrator as well.
Right, and I dehydrate all the time.
Yeah.
If I buy mushrooms and they're getting close to where, I know I'm not going to use them up, I dehydrate my mushrooms.
Good idea. I hadn't thought
all
of
the
that.
time.
Yes.
Or, other things like celery. Not always can I eat a whole pound of celery.
Right. It gets limp.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I dehydrate it.
Yes.
And then you can use it
in your soup, whatever.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And I dehydrate tomatoes. At the end of the season, especially cherry tomatoes, they're wonderful to dehydrate. I put them in my dehydrator, a cherry tomato just sliced once in two, lay them on my racks, and then they're like chips. I lightly salt them with some Himalayan pink salt, and they are delightful. Then you can also rehydrate them to put them in something. But the flavor is very intensified, but in the freeze dryer, it's even a little bit
Right. Well, we should
above.
do a class on the dehydrator.
Yes.
Now, what brand do you have? I have the Excalibur.
I have an Excalibur, and then I also have a Neko. It starts with an N. I can't remember exactly. But it's a smaller one.
Okay.
But then I have an Excalibur that's really big.
Yeah, because mine is about like this. That size, and about this high.
Well,
I have like 6 racks.
Well, my Excalibur is 18 inches wide by 30 inches long.
Okay, yours is a little larger, yeah.
And by 18 inches high.
Yeah.
So, and I only have 6 racks as well, but they're, a really big rack.
Right,
so
right.
I can do a lot. Like if I am a farmer, and so I have
Yes.
my own beef.
Right.
So I will take round steak, slice it thinly,
make a jerky.
season it, and make my own jerky.
Yeah,
So
nice.
I can have organic beef jerky.
Right.
Instead of just
Well, I think we should do a session on the dehydrator.
The dehydrator is an amazing tool, especially like if you want to, sort of prep and be prepared for a time that, what if the electric would go out for days on end?
Yes, exactly.
And your stuff that's in the freezer.
Well, see, what I did when I was working on my doctorate naturopath, I had to make tinctures.
Right.
So I had my comfrey, of course, and I went out and I used my dehydrator to dry it out to make my tinctures.
Right, exactly.
So,
right, and I know a lot of people that use their dehydrator for like elderberries, because elderberries come on all at once,
Right,
and
yes.
then they make tinctures with
Yes,
their elderberry, or
yes,
they make
exactly.
elderberry syrup.
Yes.
They will dehydrate all of those when they're in season,
Right.
so that none of them go to waste, and then they use it in their tinctures, and like blueberries as well.
Right. Now, what is the price of the dehydrators now? I bought mine many years ago, probably
Me
about
too. My
10, 12.
Excalibur is.
Mine's got to be 15 years old.
Mine's 25.
Okay.
But like
don't know
my
what they are
smaller
today.
one that,
Smaller
pretty much
one.
never goes away off of my counter. It's one of the-
Right.
It probably runs like $40.
Oh, well, that's not
yeah,
bad.
they're not terrible.
Okay.
The smaller ones, and that's really a nice size for a person starting out.
Right, exactly.
So many people are like, oh, like I'm going to go buy this huge, dehydrator, and then they're not used to doing it, and then they're like, oh, this is just too much. I don't ever have time to cut up enough vegetables to fill the whole thing. So start little. I always say that about gardening as well. Start small. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
And get comfortable with doing a small garden or even some containers. And then, as you build confidence and knowledge, then you can expand.
Absolutely,
Sort of
yes,
like that
yes,
with
yes,
everything
yes,
in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
We'll do a session on the dehydrator.
Right.
think it'd be
I
very
love
good.
that. And then, maybe we could even get some information on the freeze dryer.
Okay.
And or I can set you up with someone
Right.
that does the DI, because you would love it. I just know.
Yeah.
I know you would love it.
But I don't use my dehydrator as much as I should.
Right.
So
yeah.
now
A
I'm
lot
really-
of us don't. It's
Yeah.
there's certain times of the year. The
Right,
winter time.
exactly.
But as we are gardening around, we all still have. Even we can start everything organically, organic soil. But we still have insects. We still have diseases that come about. So I did bring some products so that people can realize they can garden organically and still they can control insects.
Correct,
People are like,
yes.
well, do I just have to live with the insects or let
Right.
them eat all my,
Right.
my plants? So we do have great products that will control the insects. So we have, this is Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. Bonai is
Dead
this company that makes these organic products. In this company, all of their all-natural line always has a tan band up here in the left-hand corner or the right-hand corner of their label. So that's really nice to see. And this one, its active ingredient is spermicide, which is a good bacteria that really controls a lot of insects. But not very good on aphids, which a lot of us battle aphids on different plants. So the Mitex is one that is using essential oils, which is much better on aphids.
Absolutely.
But again, you can see this tan band,
Right.
and you see that it is in that all natural as well.
Well, that's good to know.
Exactly, it really is. And then also, diseases. We all, especially like with tomatoes and our fruit trees, we battle with diseases, blight on our tomatoes and scab on our apple trees. So there are some great disease controls. Copper is probably the greatest fungicide out there, even in the chemical world. And there are there are some chemical people in the green industry that would, not agree with me. But copper is amazing. It can be used on a multitude of different fruits and vegetables and trees and shrubs that get diseases. Okay. This works very, very well. And it comes in different types of bottles, but this one is called a hose end sprayer. It's calibrated to pull the correct amount of the product out of the bottle as the water from your hose is coming through, and then you can just spray it right onto it. So if you have a lot of plants, this is going to be much more quick for you. Also, this little sprayer is calibrated so that it will spray up to 20 feet. So if you have a tree with a disease up in the top, you can spray it with it. And then also, this is orchard spray, and it comes also in a bottle like this one here. Right. And this has an organic insecticide, fungicide, and a miticide. And it can be used on all of your orchard plants. Now, again, they call it orchard spray. You could use it if you had insects and diseases on your boxwood. You can by all means do that. But this is an all-natural product labeled for organic gardening, and you can use it. It also comes in this concentrate where you could put it if you had an orchard and you needed to do mass sprayings. You can put this in a tank sprayer and pull it behind your tractor and spray large amounts at the same time. And then this is neem oil. And neem oil, a lot of people are familiar with. It's from the neem tree that comes out of Africa. But it's harvested that way. And neem oil is noted as an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide.
So it covers a little bit of everything.
Covers a little bit of everything. Yes. So if you have a small amount of disease, insects, and mites, this is a great product for you. You do have to watch. It is a heavy oil. So if you are spraying on a hot sunny day on a tender new plant, it'd be like coating yourself in olive oil and sitting out in the sun the first part of June when you don't have a tan yet and you could burn yourself. So you really want to make sure that you utilize this and you don't get burnt. You don't burn your plants, but it's a really good product, and we use it a lot. I use neem oil in my garden quite frequently.
So let's say if we're having a problem with something's not growing properly, they can bring in a little piece of the plant and say, hey, what is going on? And you can be the fix-it, go-to, right? We
actually love that best for someone to actually bring us a piece of, cut a branch off, put it in a baggie and bring it to us. Now, if it's a big branch or it's infested with an insect, we ask you to come into the store and say, will you come to my car? Because we don't want an infestation of whitefly, in an organic greenhouse, because we struggle with controlling insects too, because we're all organic, And in a greenhouse, the atmosphere is just perfect for insects to just breed and grow. So, but definitely bring those in, and if you can't, you can always take a picture with technology today. You can take 3 or 4 pictures and email them to me, and cindypetitti@gmail.com. It's a nice, easy one. So email me your pictures, and then we can, diagnose it for you, and then tell you what you're going to need without you taking a huge limb off or something like that.
Well, I hope that this has helped you and promoted you to get motivated to plant your own garden, because we know what we are taking in our body. Because the food today, there is so many GMOs.
That's awful.
We have like 1 more minute before we close. But by planting your own food, you know what you are getting. The herbicides, the pesticides, the toxins that we're exposed to is unbelievable today.
It's unreal. You are what you eat, and that's so true. So know what you're eating. I always say, if you can't grow your own, to know your food, you got to know your farmer.
That's right. I like that
Look them in the eye.
And don't forget, too, we have the Dirty Organic list, which actually there's 13, because potatoes are now been added as well.
So a lot of you do GMOs. The Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15.
Absolutely. So we've got that. So now's a good time to get your strawberry plants too.
Yes.
Plant those, because those are on the Dirty Dozen list.
Yes. We just planted 2,000 of them. So come on over to the greenhouse.
Well, thank you so much for
having me.
And then we'll do another session in the fall, preparing for winter, and then we'll try to work in a dehydrator session as well.
Yeah.
So we can share with you on how you can be more responsible for the food that you are ingesting and what you need to do and how you do it. Okay? So enjoy spring. Get out there and walk, get moving, exercise, take a deep breath and breathe, and enjoy God's country. And springtime is here. So thank you again, Cindy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, good. So all be well and enjoy, and happy Easter. Thank you.
That's right. Happy Easter.
Okay.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.